I'm Julie Ireland, and I'm a GTD coach and coming to you from my home in Southern California. And I wanted to just do a video to talk about and share my experience and what I have been learning from my experience with the wildfires. As when I kind of started to kind of get into gear, like I was realizing how ill prepared I was, like emotionally and like central nervous system wise. Thank you, God, for my GTD practice because I was able to really handle, I had to reschedule everything. And I'm so grateful for my practice and for kind of those guardrails that just helped me renegotiate all that stuff kind of on a dime. So I went to stay with some friends and I was leaving and they were like, you have all your documents and stuff. Like, what else do you want to take with you? And I was like, I hadn't thought about it. And in that moment, I was so deer in the headlights. I just walked out the door and closed it. So by the end of that weekend, they were kind of making enough progress that we felt like we could kind of all go home and kind of start to kind of get back to normal. And after kind of like the immediate kind of shock and the grief, which is still going on, by the way, even though it's off the news cycle, I started to kind of put some pieces together of some gaps in my emergency plan. So I have reconstructed a project, which is to kind of get that more dialed in. So it's really why I created this to just, to share my experience, but also I think it's one of those projects that most people need and most people put off because it's like not the immediate thing. So many other things, they're so much more higher priority. And it's like the thing that we put off. Like, I'm kind of in the middle of the city. I have earthquake preparedness, but I'm never in my like wildest, scenarios that I think I was going to have be a threat from a wildfire, like in this concrete place that I live. And here, lo and behold, that was absolutely true. So it's my opportunity to kind of look at how I can dial that in a little bit more and just share my experience, so that I think we could all just do a little bit, more around this, even though it's inconvenient sometimes and like other things are more important. So one of the things that I realized, even though I kind of had like the kind of immediate stuff like passports and like cash and all those things you're supposed to have, I hadn't really thought about anything else. So when I walked out of this house and my friends are like, what do you want to take with you? I was like, I don't know. I just hadn't thought about it. And I realized like there are a few key things here that unequivocally I can live without. But if I can keep, that would be my preference. So my paintings, they mean a lot to me. They're the symbol of like something I created, out of nothing. I have this iconic photo of my mom that was taken. She was sitting at a table, a tavern on the green in Central Park in 1952. And she's just like enchanting. And do I have a digital copy? Of course, but like it's like an 8x10, it's like, so I'm making my top 5. I was like, what's one of the 5 things if I had to like pull, I don't have to think about it in that moment. I have a list. So I'm just up leveling that. So, my invitation is to think about if that happened, what's the project you could set in motion like today? Watch this video, create the project, take a 2-minute next action to take a photograph of your driver's license and insurance card and email them to yourself or your spouse. Email them to 3 people. Google emergency checklist. There's so much great stuff out there. The kit that I have, I just walked into REI and bought it. It's like a backpack full of stuff that I just store in a closet. It's like, so, if this is relevant to anybody, hopefully you'll never, ever need it. But I'll tell you, oftentimes these projects that we kind of put off, once we have them in place, like it's like you can exhale a little bit. I felt that way when I finally got my advanced care directive and like all my trust stuff set up. It's like, wow, that was like another 10-year open loop that isn't with me anymore. I hope this helps. Thanks for watching.
For more GTD resources, please visit gettingthingsdone.com and David Allen's YouTube channel. For more information, please email us at info@gtdfocus.com or visit our website gtdfocus.com/contact.